ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهديه الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلن تجد له من دون الله وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله أرسله ربه بالرحمة المهداة فهدانا به من بعد الضلالة وجمعنا به من بعد الشتات فجزاه الله عنا خير ما جزى نبيا عن أمته. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وشر الأمور محدثاتها وما قل وكفى خير مما كثر وألهى. We begin as we always begin in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise is indeed due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek His guidance, we seek His forgiveness, we seek refuge with Him from the evils of our souls and the sins that we have committed. Whomsoever Allah guides is indeed guided, whomsoever Allah leads astray will find no other guide. We bear witness that there is no deity, no God worthy of worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His final prophet and messenger. Every now and then an event takes place or unfolds that gives us insight into who we are as a community, as a race, as human beings, and gives us pause in terms of how we should behave and what we should be thinking. And I think we are going through one of those moments now with what seems to be a global threat of a virus, the coronavirus that started in a small town by Chinese standards, province of Wuhan, and has now grown to be a worldwide global phenomenon. Those of us who follow the news will be following the developments, things that happen with this news cycle, and the story keeps growing day after day. In Canada, there has been a lot of work that has been done, both at the federal level as well as the provincial level, in terms of guidance and preparation for should this come to our shores and should it become a problem in Canada. We, those of us who've been in Ontario for some time, also remember a similar episode that took place about 15 years ago, and that was the SARS crisis, and we've learned a lot from that crisis. If you are worried at this point that this is going to turn into a medical lecture, don't. It's not. What I want to talk about, though, is how this relates to us as a community and as individuals who believe and ascribe to an understanding of life through the lens of Islam. As Muslims, people that have a worldview shaped by the teachings and the instructions of the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ and our tradition as a community, how do we react to this? What should we be going through? And I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about things that we should not be doing, things that we should be doing, and things that we should be thinking about. And so we'll do it in that order. We'll talk about things that we should not be doing. What we should not be doing is we should not be panicking. There's a lot of panic in the world today over this, and that's something that we should really hold ourselves accountable to if that is also what we are feeling. Now, courage, as the saying goes, is not the absence of fear. Courage is how we behave despite feeling fearful. Courage doesn't manifest when there's nothing going on in the world to be concerned about. Courage actually manifests when there are things that you should be concerned about, and that is how we behave. Right? And this issue of panic has two components. One is a feeling, and that feeling comes back to this idea of who controls the world and what happens in the world, or whose judgment passes in the world. And this is of crucial importance to us. As Muslims, we believe, or we say we believe, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala controls everything, that nothing happens in the world except by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلْ لَن يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. Nothing will come to us, nothing will befall us, nothing will happen to us except that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed. And in the famous hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas that many of us have learned since we were young, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ مَا أَصَابَكَ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُخْطِئَكَ وَأَنَّ مَا أَخْطَأَكَ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُصِيبَكَ. That know, in the advice of the Prophet ﷺ gave to Abdullah ibn Abbas, know that whatever befalls you would never have missed you, would never have escaped you. And whatever misses you, whatever you escape from, would never have befallen you. وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ النَّصْرَ مَعَ الصَّبْرِ وَأَنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. And know that victory or triumph comes with perseverance, and that with difficulty there will always come ease. Right? And so that's the first part. The first part is to reignite in our hearts and our minds this belief that things that happen in the world happen by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by His leave. Right? And it's an opportunity for us to really entrench that belief in our hearts and in our minds. The second piece is an issue of practice. The way panic spreads in the world is usually largely through rumors. People share news that is uncertain, unclear, maybe untrue. We don't bother to check whether it's true or not. We don't trace an item to its source, and we just share it. Have you heard there's another case of coronavirus in London, or there is a whole bunch of cases in Chatham? It's a rumor. It creates anxiety because we are human beings, and no one has bothered to check the truth of that rumor. And this is something again that the Quran talks about in very strong terms and criticizes people that do this. وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوِ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وإلى أولي الأمر منهم لعلمه الذين يستنبطونه منهم ولولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته لاتبعتم الشيطان إلا قليلا. That if a matter of security or fear comes to them, they broadcast it. Right? That's the term the Quran uses is broadcasting. It is the term that we have adopted for radio transmissions because of how far and wide people spread these things, they broadcast it. And if they had brought it back to the Prophet ﷺ, to their leader, and to those amongst them with authority, those who were assigned to look after these things, then the people who could think it out would have been able to explain it to them. There is such a thing as people with authority, there is such a thing as people with expertise, and we should try to bring these issues back to people who have expertise. The Prophet ﷺ says in a hadith narrated by Imam Muslim, كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ كَذِبًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ. كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ كَذِبًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ. That it is enough lying for a man, and I'm going to keep the gendered language, it is enough lying for a man to spread or to repeat everything that he hears. You hear something, you repeat it. You hear something, you repeat it. And eventually, what the Prophet ﷺ is saying is that this will be most of this, or much of this, or enough of this will be lies. We're just repeating things without checking, without pausing, without thinking. So this is the panic part. Things we feel, the notion of feeling loss of control, feeling like something's going to happen to us without bringing this feeling back to the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has control over all things. Spreading panic in the community by sharing everything that we hear, and things that are unproven, we don't know what their source is. And so that's what we should not be doing. We should not be panicking. That's the first piece. The second piece is what we should be doing. And what we should be doing is we should be preparing ourselves. And we should prepare ourselves according to guidance that people that understand what is going on have given. In our country, alhamdulillah, we have a very strong public health infrastructure. The Chief Public Health Officer of Canada has talked about the idea of doing the things that we should be doing anyway. Things we would do for winter, right? Which is make sure if you have medications, Make sure you have a supply of medications, right, that will last you in the eventuality that you are unwell or you're too sick to go out. Don't always be running on 1 or 2 days worth of, your medications. If you're able to stock up on supplies that would keep you going for a couple of days, or a week, then that's good. In our plastic era, having some cash in the event that there's a storm, electricity is out, you can't pay by a card, having something like that is helpful. So being prepared, not panicking, but being prepared, right? And this is the difference between being courageous, having courage, and between being rash, right? That if you are, or being lazy, right? You can say, I have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm just not going to do anything. That's not trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الرجاء ما قارنه عمل وإلا فهو أمنية. Hope, having hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us, is that which is accompanied by action. Hope leads to action. When it doesn't lead to action, it's wishful thinking. Right? So you say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save me, I will be fine. You haven't done anything to prepare ourselves for the challenge, but we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save us. Right? So having trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is essential. Having trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also means that we use the abilities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. We use the resources that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. We prepare, and we are prepared. Right? And as I said, in our country, alhamdulillah, we have a very strong public health infrastructure. There is strong guidance. There is websites everywhere, from the Public Health Agency of Canada to the Ontario Ministry of Health to the Middlesex Health Unit, where there is guidance on how to be prepared for something like this. So that's the second piece. So we talked about what we should not do, what we should do. The third piece that I want to talk about is what we should be thinking about. Now, there's a lot of conversations going around about, is this a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that's not the conversation that I want to have, for a number of reasons, but we'll put that question aside. What I want to reflect with you about is, how do we react as human beings, as Muslims, to a threat that is overwhelming, particularly this kind of threat. We're talking about a virus, an infinitesimally small microscopic particle that has shut down entire countries. There were $5 trillion that were wiped off the global markets by this morning because of this virus. Countries are on lockdown, cities are on lockdown, people are panicking. And it is a virus. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something like this to us. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ ضُرِبَ مَثَلٌ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ ضُرِبَ مَثَلٌ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. O people, an example has been struck, has been coined. So listen to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, listen to this. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له وإن يسلبهم الذباب شيئا لا يستنقذوه منه ضعف الطالب والمطلوب. Those that you call upon other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those idols that you worship, those things that you direct yourself to, cannot so much, will never so much as create a fly. Will not so much as create a fly. This is how weak they are. This is how impotent they are. But that's not even the best example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن يَسْلُبُهُمُ الذُّبَابُ شَيْئًا لَا يَسْتَنقِذُوهُ مِنْهُ. And if a fly were to rob them of something, were to take something from them, they wouldn't be able to get it back. ضَعُفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. Weak is that which is being sought, or small that which is being sought. Think about how much a fly can take off with, and weak is that who is doing the seeking. Now, the Mufassirin have said about what is being sought and what is seeking. They said that really the best interpretation is that the idols are that which is being sought, and the human beings are those who are doing the seeking. We worship these things, or people worship these things, thinking that they will give them help or power or wealth or something, and they cannot even defend themselves against something that is as minute as a fly. That's the example that we're going through right now. Whether or not is a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's a secondary issue. The primary issue that we should reflect on is how weak we are. In the 21st century, with the technology that we have, with the superb and advanced medical technologies that we can deploy, with the medicines that we can make, with the vaccines that we can create, a small particle that we cannot see can bring the world to its knees. And if that does not give us a feeling of humility, if that does not create within us a sense of proportion, of understanding who we are in the world, whether as individuals or as a race, as a community of human beings, then we are beyond hope. If this does not give us pause and help us to understand our place in the world, if we emerge from this, and we will, with the same sense of arrogance and ability and power that human beings often display, then it is a lost opportunity. Many people will not benefit from this opportunity. We should not be among them. As we reflect on what is happening in the world today, we should also reflect on our place in the world and our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After this verse, weak is that which is being sought, weak is that which is seeking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, مَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. Human beings do not give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his due. We do not understand, we do not pay tribute to the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We think we are everything. We think we can do so much. So we've talked about these three things. We've talked about the idea of panicking, and stopping ourselves from panicking through having courage. The courage is something that happens in the context of being fearful, not in the context of just everyday things. And so the time to have courage, the time to reflect on our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His will and His power in the world is now. We talked about the idea of not assisting the process of panicking by making sure that we don't spread rumors, and by making sure that we verify the information that we have, that we ask those who understand and those who know, right? Those who have the expertise. And then we talked about things that we should do, that understanding, having confidence and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that we should be prepared, that we should take precautions, that we should do what we can. It does not mean that we sit on our hands and do nothing and say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save us. And then finally we talked about this idea of reflecting on our relative power to the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and taking this opportunity to shore up our iman, our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our understanding of the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and really humbling ourselves given our place in the universe. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لكم فاستغفروه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. عباد الله، اعلموا أن الله أمركم بأمر عظيم بدأ به بنفسه وثنى به على ملائكة عرشه واختتمه بكم أيها المؤمنون، حيث قال عز من قائل: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم، وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب دعوات أرحم الراحمين. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا ولا تؤاخذنا بما فعل السفهاء منا ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافك ولا يرحمنا اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. اللهم لا تدع لنا في يومنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا دينا إلا قضيته، ولا مريضا إلا شفيته، ولا طالبا إلا سالما غانما إلى أهله رددته، ولا طالبا إلا نجحته، ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك جدا مقرونا بالتوفيق، وعملا عريا من الرياء، وعلما بريئا من الجهل، وحالا دائرة مع الحق أينما كان، وراحة جسم راجعة إلى روح بال، وسكون نفس موصولا بثبات يقين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. والله, allow us to see the truth as it is and to follow it, and allow us to see the falsehood as it is and to avoid it. Allah, we ask for you to grant us knowledge that is beneficial, to allow us to be agents of good in this world, and to be of support to those who need it. Allahumma ameen. عباد الله, اعلموا أن الله أمركم بثلاث ونهاكم عن ثلاث: أمركم بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى، ونهاكم عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي، يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم. Remember Allah, He will remember you. واشكروه يزدكم. Thank Him, He will give you forevermore. واستغفروه يغفر لكم. Seek His forgiveness, He will surely grant it to you. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله